Hey, love.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm so glad to be here on your channel.
I know, I'm so happy you're here too. Yeah, I have a special guest today. Her name is Stephanie. You want to introduce yourself and kind of.
Sure. I'm Stephanie. I'm from a new channel called Support with Stepha, and I am a nurse. And I decided, well, Alex asked me to come on here and be a guest on her channel to go over what it's like to be a nurse going through as a detox nurse and an addiction and part of her addiction series. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. So it's a little bit different on my end from what it is on your end, and so I'm really excited to be able to maybe provide a little bit of education, what it's like on my coming from a nurse's perspective. So I'm excited to be here, and I hope I can answer your questions and give you some information. So fire away.
Awesome. I am so happy you're here.
Me too.
And yeah, I've been a patient at rehab a couple times and I've worked my way to this point in my life where I'm at. But I just want to say hey to a couple people, Shar and Broken Justice, Francis, and Ray. Hello, guys. And Broken Justice. I don't know how to fix that. Rena, just I always want to call you Rena, but Rena, like Reba, just stick around and it'll be over in like a minute. Just be careful, and try not to. Yeah, it'll be okay. Hey, Janessa. Yeah, so I've kind of been doing this addiction series. Hey, dear Terms of Service. Which is really special to me. And I actually, we're in the middle of the pandemic, and I know that, the drug epidemic, opiate epidemic, overdose epidemic, whatever you want to call it, is it's getting a lot worse. I did bring some things I want to almost did that again. Some things I want to show you really quickly about that. So this shows where we were at before, and if you see right where that line is, that's about when the pandemic started, and it has just gotten so much worse. People are at home and it's depressed and out of work and different things like that, lots of dealing with a lot of death. So it says that the CDC's National Vital Statistics System provides monthly provisional data on predicted total drug overdose deaths during the preceding 12 months. The most recent data reflects September 2019 through August 2020. During that period, there were 88,295 predicted deaths, a record high that is almost 19,000 more deaths than the prior 12-month period, so by 27%. Usually it's never risen more than 6,300 year to year. So it's a huge jump compared to what we're usually dealing with. And it's a big problem. Opioid-related deaths drove these increases, specifically synthetic opioids such as fentanyl. Opioids accounted for around 75% of all overdose deaths during the early months of the pandemic. Around 80% of those included synthetic opiates. So I definitely wanted to talk about that because I think it's, getting worse. Hello, Looking Beyond. So yeah, do you have any thoughts on that about what the pandemic is kind of doing to the drug epidemic?
Well, I know that just if you think about depression and how it's affecting so many people, our depression numbers have really gone up. And now I work with the Medicaid population doing case management, and that's been our target. Where I'm at, the Medicaid Department of Medicaid was really pushing during COVID, pushing us to reach people for depression. So you can imagine if depression numbers were going up and people that were already struggled with addiction, what that was like for them. So people that never had addiction issues. So say they're trying something, they've been stuck in their homes, and Well, a little bit about addiction is you don't know you have addiction until you try the first time. So you try the first time, and we kind of discussed that once before in a conversation. So you don't know you're an addict until after the first time. And then your body is then chemically dependent on it. So somebody tries a drug for the first time or alcohol for the first time, but then they become chemically, their bodies are physically dependent on it. So it's no longer their choice. Like their liver needs it, their heart needs it, their brain needs it. So now they have to have it. So if that's happening, and this is the pandemic causing, it's not just the pandemic and people dying of COVID, but people are dying from depression, suicide. So for addiction, they don't know they have addiction until, I think you and I have discussed in the past, after that first try.
Yeah.
So
that's talking about the choice argument, right?
Yeah. Yes. So everybody likes to say, "Oh, it's a choice. Let them die." I heard that so many times when I was a drug rehab nurse. We don't need to be spending our money, the government's money, on Narcan. I've heard that so many times. But when it's your child or your sister, you'll have a different opinion about that. So anyway, so they try it for the first time, and then they're addicted. So it's this whole choice thing. It's a chemical thing. And I'm not saying that you're chemically dependent on it after your first try, but I'm not saying you're not either. Because that is, what came first, the chicken or the egg? There's so, but if the depression numbers were that high, so people are doing anything, they were stuck in their houses for a year, they're trying drugs for the first time, and then now they're addicted to drugs. So now we're in a whole new ball game. And I left drug rehab nurse in 2019. So, and that was 2018. That was where I'm at. It was huge here, the drug opiate problem, and where I'm at. So I can't imagine what my colleagues are going through now, and what they were going through during the height of the COVID crisis.
The lockdowns.
They're working hard. I know that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you're not too far from me, and we're in this area where it's just, it's awful. It is awful. The heroin, the fentanyl, the pain pills, it's just awful. I do want to say, though, so Shar asked do you have a channel she could share? And it should be in the description box. I'm pretty sure it's right at the top above where you join the membership. And then I wanted to say hi to Nikki and Amanda and Melissa and Dear Terms of Service. I've actually seen people say, stop giving them Narcan. We don't want to pay for that. Just let them all die. We'd be better off without all the druggies around anyways. I mean, people literally, it's just like if you commit a crime, or maybe you're a drug addict and you get attacked or something, they just treat drug addicts so bad. There's such a stigma. They're just treated so bad.
Yes.
Hey, Bryn. And then, okay, so what made you start the work what made you start working with addicts, being a detox nurse? How did that happen?
I was going to save the world. I was going to save the world. When I applied for that job, I really thought I was going to save the world. And that was a disappointment. That was a major change for me. Gosh, that seems like so long ago, but I can remember walking through those doors and thinking, I am here. I am super nurse. I'm going to change the world. And that didn't happen.
It might have for certain people.
I hope I did. And I hope I did. I guess because coming from medical side of nursing, I got that instant gratification. Like I knew if I did something heroic. Not that I, it wasn't just me, if something good happened. But as a drug detox nurse, you get yelled at a lot. And you learn in nursing school how to be a medical nurse. They don't teach you about manipulation and all of that, which was a whole new ballgame for me. So I was good at the nursing skills. I could tell, when a patient was crashing, like when they were having a true seizure and all of these things. Well, when I got to drug rehab, these people were great at faking it. And I didn't know that they were faking it at first. So here I am, super nurse, like, oh yes, wait, I think they're having a heart attack. Well, all their vitals are good. How is this happening? And that was like, I looked like an idiot at first. And then it started going the other way, where I didn't take everybody seriously. And some people really, really needed my help. Like, I remember sending this poor guy who was having upper right quadrant pain, which is typical for a gallbladder. And I remember being like, why is he doing this? He wants to go out and get pain meds, but really he needed me to. So he really needed me to send him out. So it was such a hard time.
Well, as addicts, we learn to manipulate people to get what we want. And that is, it's just part of it. I don't think there's one active person in active addiction that is not really good at manipulation and sneaking and all of that. And that would be hard to get used to. Did they talk to you about that any? Like, watch out, these people are, or did, when you came in at first?
Yes, but I was probably the most seasoned nurse coming in. A lot of our nurses were newer nurses, so they didn't have, I guess, they hadn't seen that. They didn't have those nursing skills yet. So they were kind of coming in already used to manipulation. It'd be interesting to see what it was like for them if they transitioned over to medical. Because that would be kind of scary too, because you can't, when you get to medical, you can't be assuming that your medical patients are lying to you. So, but yeah, that was really interesting. And it was hard. Like, as far as it would really, every morning I had to be there at 6 a.m. And I can remember getting up in the morning, getting in the shower, and I listened to my law of attraction, like, okay, today I'm going to be all ready for him. I'd be ready for him. I'd say a prayer on the way to work, like, okay, I'm ready for him. And by the end of the day, they would just it would suck. It was really suck the life out of me sometimes. It was really hard because I love them. I loved my patients, and I could feel their energy, and they were at the lowest part of their life, even though they had made that decision to better their life. Sometimes it had taken them to where I got them when they got out of prison. Sometimes I was lucky enough to get them when they made that decision without going to prison. And then some of them were moms, and they had to leave their kids. And that was really hard, because making that decision to, when you have kids at home, which was the best decision they could have made. Yeah. However, leaving them, I can't imagine that difficult decision that was for them. So they were at the very low point, and of course they're going to be snappy, and of course they're going to be angry that they had to do that. They didn't have to do it. They chose to do it. Let me ask you a question. Did you go to a rehab facility that was a choice? Like, did you have a choice that you could leave at any time?
Yeah.
Okay, that's how the facility I went to.
I went to a nice one. My parents paid it was like 10 grand for 1 month almost.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, it was pretty nice. Well, actually, the facility wasn't actually that nice, but it was a good facility as far as when you're looking. It wasn't I've seen some, there's free places, which it's better than nothing, but that church run this was like a real medical, nice facility that was expensive. Mine, like the place you worked at.
Okay, mine was not nice. Mine was like for people it was strictly Medicaid. So
Okay.
yeah, it was not like the nice place.
So that's
Maybe
what I
like,
mean. Yeah.
yeah, but they could leave at any time. And that was what I was going to ask you is I never understood, and maybe it was because my brain was quote, quote, normal. I wasn't going through addiction because, it takes like a year to get your brain back to like at a normal state going through addiction. But I never understood why they would fake illnesses because they could walk out the door and go to the hospital if they wanted to. Why do addicts do that? I'm curious because for a question for you.
Well, were they seeking medication?
Yes, like usually these were my opiate addicted patients.
So they're just sick and they're craving they're seeking medication. They're trying to get out of being sick. That's why a lot of the people will fake that something's wrong with them, hoping that they will be given some kind of medication that will make them feel better. Because when you're withdrawing from opiates, that is just, it's hell. It really is.
Oh, I've watched them go through hell.
Mm-hmm. And even like the benzo, like you were talking, how you loved your patients. When I told you when we talked on the phone, the second time I was in rehab, I was on a lot of benzos and they were really hard to come off. They even had me on a taper dose, but still I was sweating through the sheets every hour and just like couldn't sleep, toss and turn and crying, just in so much pain, didn't even want to get up and move. And they were coming in, changing my blankets and like wiping my face and just being like so nice to me and so caring. And like some of those bonds that you create with those nurses who really care and are trying, it's really special. But it's just a rough time. It's not pretty at all.
Yes, benzo and alcohol withdrawal is very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. And people don't realize that. They all want to think opiate withdrawal is the big one. And we used to always say opiate withdrawal won't kill you, but it'll feel like it's killing you. But benzo and alcohol can kill you, withdrawal.
Yeah, I had seizures from the benzos.
That's when you were telling me that story after we got off the phone, I thought about it. I'm like, why didn't they if you were having seizures and you had that much sweating, like they go by what's called a CIWA score, or CIWA. And if your CIWA score is over so high, they should be adding.
Well, they have like a set standard for every patient, right? At this particular rehab. So every patient taper from benzos is only a few days and they all do the exact same taper. There's really nothing, you know what I mean? And I only had one seizure.
Too many.
They did put me on seizure medicine after that and kept me on it for the rest of that month, which I went home and didn't take it anymore and I was fine and everything. But yeah, I think I don't know. It was some kind of seizure medicine that's really typical, but I can't remember the name of it. But I know it's like a popular one that maybe Dilantin or something like that.
Gotcha.
But yeah, they didn't give me any extra medicine or anything, but they did take, good care of me. And within a couple of days, I wasn't sweating like that through the nights. So bad. Still, every time, because this is like a medicated detox that I was going through. And in the mornings, we would get medication that would make you feel better. But by the time it's nighttime, you're sick again, especially if you're coming there on a lot of stuff, you know what I mean? Because I was doing probably more than typical because I was hanging out with a dealer. I had access to as much as I wanted. It wasn't, if you're out there using and you're spending your money on it, like my boyfriend was the dealer. So I didn't have to, you know what I mean? And I think it was bad, but that was actually with the heroin, not with the benzos, but yeah.
Gotcha.
I was prescribed the benzos by a doctor.
Yes, we discussed that too. How dangerous that can be. That you were getting polypharmacy, and now does West Virginia now monitor how many doctors?
Yeah, like, they do.
Here we when our patients would come in, we did what's called an ORS, where we check for all of our patients to see what they've been prescribed, who's prescribing it, because they can't get more than one prescriber for a controlled substance. Like it is very managed in my state, but
Now
I
it
know
is
that
here.
it is.
Yeah. But like when I was with that boyfriend, we were also going out of state and getting pills. And that was because they weren't doing like the computerized checks at these doctor, and yeah. So I know what you mean. And I do want to, I have a question for you, and which I could also answer, but I'm going to let you, and then I want to address this. Thank you, Incognito. I appreciate that so much.
Hi, Incognito.
They said, Stephanie, thank you for being an amazing nurse.
Oh, thank you, Incognito. That's
so
sweet.
Justice says, what is the process when you go to rehab?
Well, the first thing you do is you come through admissions. And I did admissions as well. And when you get there, we have you put all your stuff in like a trash bag, and we go through it and still stuff gets brought in on the floor. And boy, do I have a great story about that. But anyway, we have to be very, check that you're not bringing stuff up on the floor. Cause it's not, I don't know why people come to rehab, but they do with drugs. So maybe their families are making them come, or they're coming from jail, or whatever reason, they don't want to really be there. So they're going to bring drugs with them to get them through. So they bring them with them. So we put everything in their bags. Plus, people have bed bugs and everything. So they are automatically go in garbage bags, and we give them scrubs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we would give them scrubs. And then we did a urine test, and we don't care what you test positive for. Like people would be like, oh, I never did that drug. We're like, we really don't care. And what you test positive for, this is not like you're going to your probation officer and we are worried about what you test positive for. Cause people would say, well, no, I never did that. Say they test positive for benzos but they were really doing heroin. Well, people don't realize they put other stuff in the heroin. So, but I'll never forget this guy one time. I was like, oh, you're showing positive for meth and benzos. And he's like, well, I never did that. And I said, well, people add stuff into your heroin. And he goes, bonus. And I'm like, what? But he was a really funny guy. And as I got to know him being in the rehab for that 90-day period, he ended up graduating, and he's a successful person now. But when he said that to me, I thought, oh God, this one's going to be like a character. But he was really funny. So anyway, we go through all of that. Some of them come in high, because a lot of them want to get that last high before they come in. And then some come in really, really sick. Mm-hmm. The best, I think, to come in is probably right before you're sick, like right before. Because we do the tapers too. Mm-hmm. So when you first come in, if you're really, really high, you're going to have to wait longer for your taper. And people that don't have drug addiction problem, they don't understand that, what a taper is. So you kind of explain that to them.
Sure. And I have a couple questions. Well, I'll get you next.
Oh, yeah.
We'll just go around, like whatever.
Okay. So a taper, so if somebody is on heroin, an opiate, or it doesn't have to be heroin, it could be any opiate. We would do what's called, Suboxone, we'll say Suboxone, taper. So if you give somebody Suboxone too soon after they had their last heroin hit, it will put them into precipitated withdrawal. Mm-hmm. So it makes them extremely sick. Like they would come in, if I gave somebody, I never did it because I followed protocol to the T because I never wanted any of my patients to suffer, but it makes them so, so sick. And,
I've done that before, and I think it's probably worse than regular withdrawal.
That's what everybody says that has done it. And the ones that wanted it had never been in precipitated withdrawal before. But so if they'd come in and they'd be like, okay, I had my hit, 12 hours ago, I'm ready for my taper. I'd be like, oh no, not to your sweating. Like they have what's called a COW score, COWS. So we'd follow this score until I knew that you were in a place where you were ready, you were in withdrawal. I didn't make my patients suffer ever, but I wanted to make sure I was not going to put them in a place that was going to make them suffer, because I've seen other nurses give it too soon. And then these people are like crawling into the nurse's station, and there's nothing we can do. Once they're in precipitated withdrawal, that's it. There's nothing we can give them. There's nothing that anybody can give them. They just have to wait it out, and they are so sick. And I don't want to blame another nurse because it's not their fault. Like some patients will pretend to be more sick than they are. And so a nurse will go ahead and give it to them early. So I never blame another nurse for nobody's trying to put somebody in precipitated withdrawal. Trust me. Like every nurse is trying, very cognizant for that not to happen. But anyway, that's what a taper is. Precipitated withdrawal, horrible thing. So opiates is the one where you can't give it too soon. Benzos and alcohol, we give it pretty soon, right away, because we don't want you to start having seizures and die. And that will happen with alcohol withdrawal and with benzos. You do not get precipitated withdrawal from those two drugs. Meth doesn't upset you or isn't bad. Like we don't give tapers for meth or cocaine. You don't really get bad withdrawal. If there's anything good about those drugs, those are the good things, that you really don't have withdrawal like you would with heroin, benzos. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
The place where I was at, so I went twice. The first time, I was using in there. I was going because my parents wanted me to, and I wasn't really trying. The second time I was trying, I didn't do anything like that. But people are creative and they will sneak stuff in. I saw people having so their families could send boxes or take them out on the weekends or whatever. And they would come back and say they would get a jar of peanut butter, and they would peel the top off and scoop it out on the inside. Then glue that little thing back down and put the lid on, so you couldn't tell even if they went through your stuff. Or they would have so many ways that they would sneak stuff in. It's crazy. And people are using in there a lot. They are, because a lot of people that in there, even if they're in there by choice, once they get in there and they're so sick, it's I don't know, natural. It's just what you want. You think, it'll be okay. I'll just for the next couple of days do it. And then, once I get used to this taper, then I'll quit or whatever. You'll make up excuses. Okay. So I'm getting behind with the questions, but I don't want to miss. Dear Terms of Service says, have you ever had to treat patients with chronic pain?
Yes. And they have a hard time. Where I was at, we were not a medical facility. We were strictly detox and drug rehab. They have facilities that are medical as well. So I think those are, if I was an addict and I had physical pain, I would suggest going to a medical / detox where they can treat both, so that you're still getting pain management with detox and addiction treatment, because they struggled and they were usually the ones that left early because they were in pain and there's nothing we could give them but ibuprofen or Tylenol.
Baked Cake says, can she please talk about Sublocade? Is that the new one that's the monthly injection?
Let me look it up, because I don't know much. I don't know Sublocade. Hold on. But again, it might be the name of the generic. Hold on.
Yeah. I believe it's a monthly injection, but I could be totally wrong. Baked Cake.
Oh, it's okay. It's like Vivitrol. Let's see.
Mm-hmm. But it's Suboxone, so you get buprenorphine once a month instead of daily or whatever, because Vivitrol is just the blocker, right? And then this I think has buprenorphine in it, but I could be wrong. But is that what it looks like?
Let's see. Yeah, it's got buprenorphine in it. Okay, so they actually give this for weight loss too.
Oh, wow.
I have a friend that took this. She's not a drug addict. she doesn't even drink, but they actually gave her this for weight loss.
Wow.
Yes. Because the buprenorphine or hold on, I think this is the one that she took. No, never mind. This is not what she took. Okay. So it's got the bupe in it. And
it's basically so they don't have to do I guess like get back more of a normal life. You're not taking medicine daily. It's more of a once a month shot.
Okay, so it's bupe on extended release injection. I don't know how I would feel about taking bupe. You know what? I'm obviously it's safe. I just know that buprenorphine is what we gave as our taper.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's what they gave where I was at too. Okay, so let me ask you a question. A lot of people, when they're wanting to go to rehab, they are feeling so judged already, and they have a fear of being judged, right? And they, whether it's because they've lost a lot of weight, their teeth are bad, they've got scabs or whatever, they're just afraid. So did you ever catch yourself being judgmental or overcritical to these people? What about other staff members? And do you see a scenario where that would be helpful?
Yes. Yes. You should be judgmental, but not judgmental in a negative way. If you work for a drug rehab, no matter if you're a nurse or if you are, we had resident assistants that did a lot of the, we're with the resident or with our patients. Depends where you work, what they call the actual patients, but a lot of times they call them residents because it's not okay to call people a patient when they're going through rehab. But you definitely want to be extra careful with them. Like, for example, if I'm working with a 90-year-old man, I don't have to worry so much about extra careful about my cart. But when I'm with my drug patients, like I was extra careful of making sure I double check, check 3 times, making sure that was always, but not judgmental in the way of I'm better than you because you're a drug addict and I'm a nurse. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you that the best employees that we had and that did the best work were the ones that were former drug addicts. Yeah. And we even had a nurse that was a former drug addict. And she was fabulous. She was amazing.
The ones that always, and especially in counseling and stuff for me, that always made the difference, and that the only ones that work for me are as far as counselors go. And I could see this with being helpful in the nurses situation too, are ex-addicts, because they get it. I mean, they've been there, they've walked through it. Just like with me, I've thought about going on to, there's different things I told you about in my area. There's a thing called a recovery coach. There's different things where the requirements are so much clean time to get these jobs to work with patients and stuff. And those are the ones that always made a difference for me, were the ones who had kind of been through it. Because sometimes when you have someone who hasn't been through it, for one, you have a kind nature, but there's some people who haven't been through it that have they're hostile. They're just like, I don't know, like they have a negative energy. And when they're trying to tell you about addiction and you just want to be like, you don't have a damn clue. Like, don't tell me you ain't been here, because the way they treat you, it's kind of like an instinct to feel that way. I couldn't see anyone feeling that way with you though, because I could see you trying to like really put yourself, being empathetic and stuff like that, trying to understand all angles of the situation. Some people don't though, and it's rough. Yeah.
I bet you those nurses were like this when they walked in the door though. This is how I was when I walked in the door. When I walked out the door, I had gotten hard-hearted. My mom is a nurse, and she said, Stephanie, she told me she didn't want me to become a nurse. But she said, Stephanie, when you know it's time to leave a job, when you're getting hard-hearted towards your patients. I wasn't hard-hearted to my patients. I just didn't have that same the drive that I had the first day I walked in the door. Because like I told you that I'd come into work and I felt like, oh, life was being sucked out sometimes. Yeah. And so I bet you that those nurses that you felt that way, I bet you they had that at one time.
Well, now I look back and I'm like, well, no wonder. I mean, you're having to deal with all these people lying to you, manipulating you, stealing. I mean, just all the BS that comes along with it. It's hard to deal with. I mean, it is. And I've, dealt with, been around people since I've been better. And it just can be super frustrating. It's, you can see how you could turn that way and just become sour to it all,
But the best ones don't. They don't. I mean, you know what I mean? Like I knew. I always had that in the back of my head from my mother from years ago that always said, if you feel yourself getting hard-hearted, it's time to leave that position. And that's when I knew I had prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed because I really wanted to go into case management. And I got that position and I was like, it was like the perfect timing. Like I knew it was like a divine intervention, if you believe in that stuff. Like I was so ready. But I still talk to a lot of my nurse friends from there, and they still have the gung ho. Now they're hard nurses. Like they're able to like put their foot down, like, nope, not listening to it. People come up and like, oh, I'm hurting, they're not being nasty, but they're just like, no, if you need to leave, you are more than welcome to leave. But I don't see anything medically wrong with you at this point. They are able to do that. I struggled with that because I am so empathic, too empathic, I guess, because I felt other people's
energy. For someone who was super empathic, that would be a really hard job, just like kind of working at a prison or something like that,
Yes.
Give me just a second because I need to grab a charger.
Yes. Hi, Petunia. Broken Justice, I didn't see what you said. Her addiction was causing suffering to poor people, and she didn't care. I didn't see the beginning of it. Can you repeat that? Or send the beginning of it? Because I didn't see it, dear.
Okay. There we go. So I wanted to ask you, I know you've started a YouTube channel. Can you tell me more about that channel and why you decided to start it and what your kind of plans are with the channel?
I would love to. And I would love for all of you to join. I started a YouTube channel called Support with Stepha. I am a mom of a 26-year-old now, but my daughter at age 8 started showing like a lot of behavior issues. So we got her some help well.
Uh-oh. Stephanie, you froze. Oh no. I would think some have that mental part, like anxiety, that might seem them like the withdrawal is worse than it medically is. For me, that was a hard part, dear terms of service, because there's a lot of people, they call it dual diagnosis, and that's if you have addiction and you also have mental health issues. Stephanie froze. I'm going to remove your thing. Try to come back in because you're frozen completely, no sound, no. So a lot of people have, dual diagnosis. If they have a mental health issue, whatever that is, it could be anything, and addiction. And it's really hard to treat addiction if you do have mental health issues. You got to kind of figure it out. Stephanie, you're wonderful. Yes, she is. I hope she can get back. I hear a kitten crying. Are you trying to get to me? Aw, that little orange kitten loves me. Let me get it while we're waiting. Say hello. Hi, little dude. I'll go outside and he'll be out there and he'll just come like sit on my foot. He just likes me for some reason. What? I work with a nurse that was stealing meds from elderly in the nursing home. I bet you that happens all the time. I know. I don't know what happened to Stephanie, you guys. Oh my gosh. I know. So cute. I don't know why he's crying. Hey, little dude. So I don't know what happened to Stephanie. There's only 21 people in here. You know what? Stop. Who cares about the numbers? For me, this addiction thing is so special to me. If only 10 people watched it and it helped one of them, I would do it. Like, I'd continue to do it. That's what it's about. Thank you, Broken. Thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate that. I know, you guys. My friend suffered from dual diagnosis, which made her battle so much harder. Oh, that's awesome, Incognito. I know, I should take it to Anne. I wonder where he's so little. I don't know. Well, he's got many names. You know those little tangerines that are orange and they're called cuties? So Bentley wanted to name him Thomas the Train for some reason. And I called him Cutie, so we keep calling him Thomas the Cutie. Uh-oh. Well, he's going to go. Thank you, guys. Thank you. There she is. Hello.
Hi, doll. Sorry, I lost my internet connection, so I'm gonna have to use my phone.
Oh, you look so pretty.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you look really pretty. Okay, well that's fine.
I think my mom said something. Mom, I think I saw you in the chat.
Was that her?
Cynthia Martin.
Uh-huh.
Thanks, Mom, for supporting me.
Hi, Mom.
That's where I started my nursing skills. I'll never be the nurse that she was, but I will do my best.
I'm sure you're very proud of her. I'm sure you're very proud of your daughter. I would be if I was you. And yeah, that's awesome. She's in here. She said, glad you're back. We were just sitting here looking at this kitten.
I can't believe she knows how to use the internet. Oh, look at the kitties.
Okay. She said, Cheryl says she loves your hair.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
So when you froze was when you said you have a daughter at 8 years old, okay. And that was it. That's kind of all we heard. At 8 years old,
so at 8 years old, she started showing behavioral issues, and we had a major incident, and I took her to the hospital, the emergency room, and found out that she was having a lot more issues than I ever dreamed of. And that's where our journey started. And she started going to a psychiatrist. She started going to a mental health therapist. And her father and I are divorced, and we were divorced at the time. And our journey began there that day. And my mom, hi, Mom, if you're still in the chat, lived in Florida. She came up, like she was here within hours of that incident, to help me with the whole situation, because it was very devastating. Nobody expects that of a young child, especially being only 8 years old.
What kind of, well, can you be, you said many issues. You don't have to be specific, but
she, you better put your warning out, because I don't want to get.
That's all right. I don't care. You go for it. Say whatever.
Okay, trigger warning for everybody. I'm just going to say it because I have my daughter's permission. She wants to be part of the channel too. She pulled out a knife and said she wanted to hurt herself at 8 years old.
8 years old.
Yes. And I didn't know what to do. I'd never heard of that before. And so I called Crisis Line.
I wasn't a nurse, didn't know what to do. And crisis line said, take her to the emergency room. So I called my ex-husband. We went to the emergency room, and my ex-husband and I were united during that period. I mean, as far as, oh my God, our little girl is way sicker than we didn't even know. Because you don't know. You just think your kid is acting out behaviorally. You don't know that they're having all these other issues. And so she went inpatient at that time. There were no other people I've ever met or heard that had children that did that. So there was no support, I guess. And so it wasn't until I became a nurse and I worked my first nursing job. I met a psych nurse that actually worked at the facility that my daughter was at. And she's like, hey, she's like, I'm going to start this support group. She happened to have 2 children with mental illness. And she was an amazing woman. And I'm like, you do? And she's like, yeah. She's like, just because your kid has mental illness doesn't mean you, because as a parent, you think, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? Did I eat wrong during pregnancy? Did I discipline incorrectly? What did I do? You automatically blame yourself. So Krista, I will never forget Krista. So she gets me in this little group, but there was only like 5 people in it because there was nobody that we knew around.
Yeah.
So I talk to people every day in my job that need support, and they have nobody to mentor them, nobody to even bounce off ideas. They don't know they need a psychiatrist. There's children's psychiatrists, testing, all of these things they don't know. So I decided to start my group, start my channel. And it originally was going to be from a parental point of view, and then from my daughter, from the child's point of view, from what she was experiencing.
Oh, yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yes. And so, however, I think I'm going to hold off for a couple episodes before I bring her on. And just to make sure that that's something she can handle. Like, you know how the drama community can be.
Yeah.
So I don't want to like cause any harm to her. I mean, not that they would be nasty to her, but I just don't want that to be an issue. So
that's good to be thinking of that. Yeah.
But now that she's an adult, she'll be able to say, hey, this is how I felt.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that. I can't wait because that'll be so interesting. And you're going to help so many people. I know when you were going through that, you were like, what do? I'm so alone. Even to find a group of 5, you were probably like, yes, finally I found, some people with, so that will be awesome. And there's even a few people in here. Tia actually said that that's when my son started showing behavioral issues at 8 years old. And then Ramona says her grandson has the same issues. So you are going to help so many people. I think it's going to be really special. And when you bring her on, just make sure you have plenty of mods. I can help you. If you need help, I'll be there. Just throw me a wrench and we'll make sure to keep the chat respectful and kind. That's what I do here. I mean, I don't play games. If you come over here talking junk or being rude, you have to go. This is a place where we can disagree respectfully, or you just have to go because I don't have time for all the other stuff. And it'll be so awesome though. I can't wait to see that. Let me see. I do have more questions for you.
Yes.
So, on the YouTube side of it, before I move on, do you watch a lot of YouTube? Do you, is that something you do in your free time or?
Yes, that's all I do. Is I don't even watch cable anymore. I just watch YouTube. That's how we met, was through the Chris Watts community. Like my obsession, of course, I thought Chris Watts in the beginning, like everybody else. Oh, he just killed his wife, and that was that. And then it took me down a whole nother rabbit hole, as everybody else. So, now here I am.
I'm the same. I'm like, I love YouTube. It's such a awesome part of my life. It's just so awesome to have. It's a beautiful thing for me because if you're at home and you're lonely or you're at a place in your life you're just depressed, YouTube is right there, and you have these people. It almost feels like when you're listening to live streams and stuff, like you're almost like friends with these people, and you're kind of just like having conversation. I don't know. It's a special, special place that
Yeah.
it has a lot of evil, but it has a lot of beautiful stuff too.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And it's all about just staying with the positive. You know what I mean? Because we've gotten sucked into the negative, but boy, there's a lot of positive.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was going to ask you your thoughts on medical marijuana, and as far as from a recovery nurse's perspective, I know it's an odd jump to that subject, but it was next on my list. Do you have any thoughts on that, or what do you feel like marijuana is the same as, these other, do you think it's possible? Well, just how do you feel about medical marijuana?
Well, I'm supposed to say, as a drug rehab nurse, that you shouldn't do it. Okay. But as a real nurse, I've seen it be very effective. And I've seen people that were on opiates that no longer are on opiates, and people that have cancer that didn't have controlled pain now have controlled pain. I have a family member that is, what did my mother say? Experience is what'd she say? I can't, I'm on my phone.
Experience is what keeps you from feeling alone. In the world where we're in, I think sometimes we feel lost. Yes.
But I think that medical marijuana I can't have it as a nurse. But I think that it is wonderful drug for people.
Yeah, I do too.
People that it keeps them from taking benzos, it keeps them from taking opiates, all these. So who am I to tell somebody that, no, you shouldn't have medical marijuana? I'm not going to say that. I'm not. But as a drug rehab, when I was a drug rehab nurse, I'm supposed to say, no, you shouldn't have any kind of drug.
Mind-altering substance.
Yeah. But as a nurse, and I'm going to tell you, and as seeing people with mental health issues and chronic pain issues and cancer and all of these things, I've seen it do wonders for people. So that's my opinion.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that opinion. Happy 9th birthday to Nikki's son. Tell him happy birthday. Let's see. So what was your best experience as a nurse working at a rehab detox facility, and your best and your worst experience? What was the best and the worst? I don't know.
Actually the story.
Interesting.
They were actually the same story. And I'll kind of explain that. I had this awesome patient. Well, gosh, she was a pain in my butt when I first got her. She was so hard. She came up on the unit and she was like, no, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not doing this. And then she did the whole pain thing. I need to go out for pain. And I think one time I even actually gave into her, like day 2. I was just like, okay, you're okay. I can't today. I don't know. I don't even remember. That's been so many years. That was like not when I first started. I was probably there about a year. But I grew to love her. Like there was something about our connection. Like sometimes you just have a patient that you just connect with, and she was that to me. So I kept telling her, I'll just call her Jane Doe. I'll call her Jane Doe. Okay. Yeah. I'll say Jane Doe. I'm like, there's something about you. You're going to come back here one day and you're going to be a therapist here. You're going to work here. And she'd be like, laugh about it. And then as she got a little bit better, she'd say, you're right, Miss Stephanie. I am going to laugh about it someday. I am going to come work here with you someday. Someday I'm going to be your boss, she'd say. And I watched her get better, and she got off her taper. So she went over to the off detox over to rehab. And so I followed her all the way through the 90-day program. And I was so excited. I was so proud of her. Like she was the one I was like, I was like, girl, you're graduating. Like I was just so excited for her. And she graduates that day. I'll never forget. And this guy comes in that works there, and like 5 hours after she graduated, and he says, Jane Doe is dead. She used, she left here and used, and she died.
Mm.
And I still, there's part of me like just gets sick about it, because I saw all of that potential. There was a spark about her, a love about her, and now she's gone. And she had a daughter that was like cheering her on. I mean, she had family cheering her on. And, we tapered them down. I'm the Bupe. We taper them down so that they don't need it. They need less and less and less and less till they need nothing. And then they go and try to use heroin that they used before, so they can't handle that. Their bodies can't, and then they die. And I hate to say it like that, and they die. But I want people to realize, like, that's the reality of it.
It is the reality. Yep. You're exactly right. And I've seen it happen too. I remember, we used to, in the rehab I was at, we had classes all day. And at 9:30, we had this huge NA group with the town would come in and everything. And I'll never forget sitting down in that NA group, and a guy who I had made friends with had just left, and he went home and he did the same thing. And it happens often. I mean, people think they can use what they did before, and and let me look at something real quick on this that we looked at earlier. This said there was, so I want to just do the math really quick on this. I got to find my calculator. So let's put 88,295 divided by 365. So every single day, 241 people die from drug overdoses every single day. That's crazy. That's 10 people an hour, Like, oh my gosh, that's unbelievable. 10 people every hour.
Yep.
That's a problem. It really is. That's awful. That is why we're doing this series. That is why we're not going to stop. You're coming on, like, I'll bring you back on again in the future if you want to continue the conversation, because it's important, and as long as that there's anybody listening, the addiction videos, when I first started doing them, they got viewed a fraction amount of my other videos, but the response, the emails I was getting, the comments, I mean, it was undeniable. There were so many people who were either suffering, who I've had people comment who are using. I've had emails from someone who, I mean, I talk to them all the time now, and they're like, no, I didn't buy a bottle today. I didn't buy a bottle of liquor today. And it's just, I know that it's helping, and I want to continue. It's so special to me. And your channel's going to be just, in a different way, because it's not addiction really, but you're going to be making it, you will be changing the world. You wanted to change the world, thought you were going to go in and, but you're going to. I truly feel that in my heart.
I hope so. I just want to help people. That's what I want to do. And whether that, I want to help families that have, when they're going through it, because girl, it's no joke, going through that. I was blessed to have, I have a great family. I really do. I'm blessed. But not everybody has that. And even when you do have it, they're not there. They can't be there all the time. You know what I mean? I was a single mom Brittany's dad, but eventually you have disagreements and treatments and all of that, or medication versus non-medication. There's so many intricacies that go into it that I hope that I'll be able to help people at least I can't make your decisions for you, but I can at least tell you what worked for me, what didn't work for me. And
be support. Yeah. And that is so special and so needed. Thank you, Bryn, so much for that. And Shar, thank you. I love all of you guys in here so much. I have friend Cheryl, who has talked about starting little support groups for other things like motherhood or whatever. But I think those are important things. Like, support groups are important, and they could actually really help a lot. I mean, think when you were finding out about your daughter and you felt like you had nowhere to turn, nobody that understood, right? So if you could get online and just have somebody there that has been through it, that's really a big deal.
Yeah.
I don't know if I had any others. Let me check. Oh, I did want to ask, have you ever had a close friend or a family member who suffered with addiction issues?
Oh, yeah.
I figured it's touched everyone. It really has. It's crazy.
Yeah. And a lot of them, family members that don't even know that they have it, and I don't say anything. You know what I mean? There can be that's like that's a whole other show. But yeah, I think everybody does. I don't know anybody that's not touched by addiction. I mean, every family, every friend, every person I know has been touched by addiction.
It's crazy. Is there anything else that you would want to touch on about, like, maybe your personal journey, your and your daughter's journey, your struggle, anything else that you think is important to talk about? Or
yeah, I actually I'll talk about my daughter a little bit. She's actually here. I don't know if she's watching, probably not, because
oh, cool.
But yeah, when she was growing up, it used to drive her crazy. I don't want to go to therapy. Why are you making me go through all that? It drove her crazy to have me doing all these things with her. Like, why are you making me take my medication? Why are you doing that? And my daughter also is a type 1 diabetic. So I think I'm going to have my channel also for parents that have children with diabetes, because that is whole nother war. But anyway, so as she's been getting older, she's been saying things like how it's helped her. Well, the other day she just came into me and she said, Mama, she said, I wouldn't have made it if it wouldn't have been for you. And I said, what? And she's, because her whole life it's been, I was the enemy. Like, I'm making you go to therapy. I'm making you take your medication, when she was growing up. And she didn't like that. And she goes, if you wouldn't have made me go to therapy all that time, if you wouldn't have put me in treatment all that time, she said, I wouldn't have survived. She's like, all those tools that I learned, I'm using now. I just didn't understand it at the time. And I think that's really important for parents, that just because you're not seeing them use their tools at age 10, 11, 12, 15, whatever, they're going to grow up, and they're going to be adults, and everything that you're teaching them, the medications, if you choose medication, if they, that's a family decision. That's not something that everybody makes the decision. That's something that you have to decide for your family and for your child. But treatment, as far as therapy and coping skills is extremely important, because that's what determines how they handle stressors, because they don't know how yet. So, heck, I've learned how to handle stressors from therapy sessions.
She's so lucky to have you as a mom. You are a special. Oh, you muted. Oh, no, I think your sound went out for a second, but I think it's back.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's like telling me that I'm a great mom, but I didn't hear that growing up. And I'm like, I'm so glad that you think that about me now. You know what I mean? Because you're a mom. They don't know how much we love them. You think you know what love is until you have that baby. Oh God.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
But she's an adult now. She has her own life. But she still uses those skills, and she goes to therapy on her own and all that kind of thing. But she tells me she doesn't really need me to. She's like, go have your own life.
Like, Now she's grown, you get to go out and have a little bit of fun after all these years of, thank you, Tia, so much for that. That means the world to me. And thank you, Baked Cake, as well.
I wish I could see the chat. I can't. But...
Well, I have a question for you from Broken Justice. She says, okay. Were you ever suspicious about a doctor or nurse using?
I'm trying to think. In the facility, no. Everything at the rehab facility is on camera. So I can't imagine anybody trying anything in in a facility, at least the facility I was at. Like, in fact, if we couldn't find something, it was so easy to find it because it was going to be on camera. So we could take, like, say we lost our purse or our keys, we could go on the camera and rewind and find out where they were, because there was everything is on camera. So no, not there. But when I worked in a facility at other facilities, I was always very cognitive. There would be nurses that I'd be like, let me make sure. Like, luckily there's a lot of checks and balances in nursing. Yeah. So that's important. But I think I told you this yesterday. Mm-hmm. Broken Justice. I had a friend from junior high, and I ran into her like 15 years ago. We had lunch, and I had a lot of respect for her because she became a nurse like 2 years after we graduated. So she was like 20. And she's like, I'm like, so tell me all about your job, because she worked ER. She's like, well, I got fired. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, I'm a drug addict and I was stealing morphine. And I was like, what? And she told me that she had been stealing morphine, but she knew she was going to get caught because, there's these checks and balances. And this was 15 years ago. I don't even, maybe longer than that. Brittany was 2. God, that would be so Brittany. That's been 20 some years ago. I'm old. So
well, you look like 25 years old, but
bless you, girl. Bless you. I'm 46. Ooh.
You do look young. You really do look like the chat was like, what? She has an adult child, like 25 years old. Wow.
Oh, bless you guys. Bless you guys. Okay. So, so she's telling me how she knew she was going to get caught, with the morphine, but she's like, I couldn't stop myself, but I knew I was going to get caught. She's like, I just didn't know when. And so she's like, but so now I'm in this program and I go to NA so many times a week. And, the board of nursing, has me, she had to get her urine checked all the time. Like, I'm saying like 4 times a week. They were like really, because like opiates go out of your system pretty fast. So like they were on her. She did that for 5 years. She was that dedicated. And that's a lot of dedication to do all of that and not have your nursing license and have to work another job. That's a lot of dedication, but she did it.
That is.
Now she is an educator for nurses about addiction. And yeah, she lives in Alabama. And she's phenomenal. And she took that horrible time of her life to turn it around and to help other people that are going through.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is so awesome. Hello, Coach. Well, I don't know. That was really all I had. I do want to say hello to Susan, though. Hadn't seen you in the chat, but it's good to see your face and your name. Wait till you get your channel and you'll start to see like faces and names you start to recognize, and you just become like this little, I don't know, just like they're your friends, and it's just cool. It's awesome. But
my little friends that, from our true crime communities, but it'll be interesting to have like, that's what I'm like, how am I gonna, I hope some of our true crime people come over, like, that was another thing I was gonna say. Speaking of true crime, I will do once a week, I'll be doing a missing child.
Cool.
Yeah, because I'm not like Summer Wells, she's already has plenty of coverage, but like the little boy Harrelson that is missing in Iowa, that that's kind of part of that Molly Tippett's case, or could be part of that Molly Tippett's case. So I don't know if you're familiar with him, but
a little bit, but
yeah. So I'm gonna be doing every week I'll do a missing child on my
that'll
channel.
be awesome. Yeah. And I do believe you'll have some from the true crime community. You just make sure that people know that you have your channel, you know. Definitely make sure to do that. And thank you, dear Terms of Service. I hope that it will over time, you know, if somebody needs it or whatever, you know, that it'll be helpful. And then Cheryl said, thank you, by the way, Cheryl, that's really sweet. And you said, I keep you in check. I got a giggle about that one. Yeah, Melissa said, you will create your own little community.
Melissa, thank you. And thank you so much. Between you and Melissa, I've been like, oh, now how do I do this? Because I still don't know how to do whatever I'm doing. I still have to contact you young people because I'm like, I don't know how to.
Well, I
don't know
told
what I'm
you,
doing on YouTube.
you need a TikTok, I believe, because
Yes.
there's a lot of educational stuff on there, and I believe that you would just do so wonderful over there. I think that you could do quick little videos of informative stuff and, you know, stuff from your experience. I just think that, and if you need help with that or YouTube, just call me, you know.
I will.
Yeah. And then thank you guys for being here so much. I love you guys. And if you have anything else or don't, and then I guess we're pretty much done.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was great being with you guys. And any follow-up questions, just let me know.
Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. And you are a special person, and you're a wonderful mom. You can tell. I'm sure you were an awesome nurse, and you're going to be an awesome YouTuber.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, but okay, you guys. Drop her link, MJ again. Yeah, her link is in the description. And yeah, thank you, Incognito. And then I will see you guys soon. And Stephanie, I'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.